Josh Hawley was not playing any games with this spineless Biden official.
Why wouldn't we put our chips on American energy? And we've got various sources of energy in this country. Why wouldn't we put our chips there?
I think we are putting our chips on.
No, we're not. We're producing less oil and gas in this country than we were previously. The president, when he came to office, his first day in office, he imposed a moratorium on oil and gas leases on federal land. Since then, he has leased the fewest acres of federal land for oil and natural gas since the Truman administration. Why are we shutting down American oil and natural gas production, taking away American jobs, and making ourselves more dependent on foreign sources of energy? I don't understand this policy.
Well, the U.S. will produce a record amount of both crude oil and natural gas in 2023, even higher than the spike's pre-COVID levels. And the president is actively encouraging U.S. oil producers to increase production and reinvest their profits back into production rather than buying back stocks. And I think that's the right policy to pursue.
He's doing that while he is shutting down the ability to lease federal land for oil and natural gas, the fewest acres of federal land leased since the Truman administration. He's boasted about how he hopes that he just said in the State of the Union that we may not need American oil after another 10 years. I mean, what kind of a message does that send? Is that energy security?
So any questions about leasing on federal land, I would direct to the Department of Interior, not the Department of Energy, sir.
Oh, listen, don't play that game with me. We're talking here about energy production. Oil and natural gas are energy production. And the facts of the matter are this president has reduced our ability to be energy independent. And you're sitting here telling me that that increases our energy security. It looks just the opposite to me. It seems to me that you're recommending the European playbook, which left them dependent on foreign nations, left them dependent ultimately on hostile actors, and that's what you're trying to replicate here again in the United States. I just don't understand why you would shut down pipelines that cancel thousands of good-paying American energy jobs. I mean, why is that a healthy energy policy for this country?
With all due respect, sir, I really don't see much of a comparison between where Europe was before the outbreak of the war and their energy mix and where they were getting energy from and where the United States is today.
Well, let me just ask you, on the topic of dependence on authoritarian regimes, China processes 40% of the world's copper, more than 30% of the nickel in the world, 60% of cobalt, 60% of lithium, and more than 80% of rare earth minerals. Now, in light of that, many commentators have suggested that the United States is even more dependent on China for key components of solar power, panels, wind turbines, and batteries than Europe was on Russia in the lead up to the invasion of Ukraine. So I say again, in light of all of that, don't you think that this administration's climate agenda is making us more dependent on China while we lessen our reliance on our own domestic energy sources?
Well, sir, as I said in my testimony before, I think you're absolutely right. China does own too much of the critical minerals supply chain from the beginning, from ownership of resources through processing and through the creation of modules and other sort of parts of clean energy components.
So why would you want to make us more dependent on them?
Hawley is extremely right in this, in his line of questioning. We all know on day one, Biden administration, Biden himself, shut down all production on natural gas, oil, and he just killed so many American jobs, like boom, on day one. Not even caring about the American people who had those jobs. What do they do? Where do they go? What kind of work are they going to have? And I remember him saying in his administration saying, oh, they can learn a new trade and they can eventually end up getting another line of work. But here's the thing, when you on day one shut down the production of natural gas and production of making oil, and you just stop work for all these American people, you're not even giving them a grace period or a time frame to learn those different trades so that they can continue to provide for their families. And Hawley's line of questioning to this guy is just giving one fact after the other on showing how Biden's policy is now making us so dependent on other countries, where before he took office, we were so energy independent. We were very strong. We relied on our own natural gas and oil production, which, if you think about it, if we ever went to war with these other countries where we're now relying on getting this natural gas and oil from them, where are we going to be? We have to stop relying on other countries for stuff and make things here in America. And this guy didn't even try to kind of filibuster his answer with Hawley, but Hawley's like, don't play around with me. And he went back to his specific question. Good for him, keeping him in line.